Planning your next post-COVID vacation? Be prepared with the help and expert advice of the Travel Guys.
Hi, I'm Mike Hogan and I'm one of the Travel Guys. I'm here today to talk to you about my passion, travel. And I'm delighted to say our guest today is Terry Small, the owner of Supreme Tours and Travel, a small niche tour operator, and it's a great product of tours that they've got. Hi Terry, welcome to the show.
Hi Mike, nice to be here.
And you too, mate. What are your thoughts about opening?
Look, for us, I would love to think that we're back up and running in our bubbles to the South Pacific and to Australia, but frankly, I don't know. There's so many ifs and buts. It's really, really hard to plan, which makes it really hard for everybody.
I realise. Well, your business has extensive touring around the world. You're purely focusing on domestic travels around New Zealand, aren't you, as a result?
Absolutely. It was tough. It was really, really tough. We had a very big overseas program planned, which completely went down the tubes. But you know what? We elongated our domestic stuff, and I'm very happy to say that that's going pretty well. And you know what? It's yin and yang. I think people are enjoying their own country, and also I think that we're getting to see it without the crowds. There's some great deals.
I must admit, I was in Queenstown a couple of months ago. It was really interesting that the forefront was busy as. It's vibrant, it's going well, yep. But just go block back from the waterfront and right. You see how quiet it is.
And it depends on when you're there too.
Correct.
You know, school holidays and stuff, and hopefully during the ski season, Queenstown will come back up. But it's some of the smaller places that are really feeling it.
Yeah. Well, let's hope New Zealanders can support them as much as they can.
That's what we're trying to do, and I think a lot of touring companies are trying to do. And the suppliers are also coming to the party.
Yep.
They're helping us with good rates,
that's great.
So we can get it to the clients at better rates, and everybody wins.
It's important because in situations like this, people can get desperate, so they crank their prices up, desperate to get business.
They do.
And it's the worst thing you can possibly do.
It is, but a lot of thankfully, a lot of the suppliers, and particularly a lot that we use, are not doing that.
That's excellent.
I reckon that's the good thing about New Zealanders. We quite often, when something like this happens, we pull together and try and help out. Well, team of 5 million, yes, absolutely.
Where did that idea come from? Yeah. Okay, I'll come back to Terry in a moment with her trips. I just thought I'd give an update, people, on airline update. And this last month marks the end of an era. The last Boeing 747, the Queen of the Skies, rolled off the assembly line at Seattle for Boeing, and it's the last that will ever be built. And it's extraordinary to think that the 747 is 50 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, 50 years it's been flying.
When we think about giants, the first thing we imagine is of course the Queen. Boeing 747, the jumbo jet, a huge winged whale that has conquered the hearts of aviators and fleets of airlines. More than 1,500 of these giants dominated the sky for decades. However, the story of this dominance is coming to an end. Demand for them is falling, production is declining, and it is likely to fall to zero just about now. Meanwhile, overseas, there is another giant. The Airbus A380 is an even bigger winged whale, one of the largest aircraft in history, an unrivaled machine. Airbus, having received such a trump card, captured the market, released over 200 airliners, and announced that it would close the production by the beginning of the 2020s. Wait a minute. Boeing is wrapping up the 747. Okay, the plane is from the 1960s, it can't fly forever. But why retire the A380? It is barely over 10 years old. Does it mean that they are not leaving because of their age? But why then? Let's find out. I'm
giving away my age by telling you I did fly on one of the first flights from London to New York back a long time ago. But it was so exciting, it really was. It was quite special. It will be flying for a long time now, mainly as a freighter variant. But it's interesting to note the A380 that Boeing bought out not even 20 years ago, that's the other large double-decker that's even bigger than the 747. Right. That's being laid up all around the world, and I think of an airline like Emirates, we've got 147 of them, which is staggering. But the days of the big 4-engine jets, I think, are long gone now, because the twins, right. Boeing 777s, A350s, the composite materials, they're so much lighter, they're so much more fuel efficient. I think that we won't be seeing those big 4-engine behemoths back in the sky for a lot.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah, ever again. Yeah. Another interesting idea, a new business class concept, and from an airline called JetBlue, which is a low-cost carrier from the States and renowned for its El Cheapo fares, but they're introducing a New York to London service, taking on the big guns, the British Airways of this world, United Airlines, etc. But the concept is they're giving a really good deal on a flat bed, which is everybody's dream.
Absolutely, particularly for those long hauls.
Exactly, and they're paring everything away so that you get your life at bed, you pay your price, and then, you want to come to the lounge, ka-ching. If you want to drink, ka-ching. And so you pay extra for all those little peripheral services. But they haven't announced their fares yet, but they're saying that they will be available to everybody. That's going to be it could be a real
Which is
game
great.
changer.
I mean, user pays. A lot of the airlines have been bringing that in, and I think generally people love it. If you're not going to you don't want the meal, or you don't drink for whatever reason, well, you're not paying for it. If you don't want to go into the lounge, I think it's great.
Yep.
Lie flat bed, yes.
Yes, exactly. I'll just drink water.
That's it. I don't care. Just lay back. And everybody's going to be the same. It's all about the room.
I think so. And I mean, the airfares that we don't realise. People don't realise how cheap airfares are now. And I obviously use the comparison. If you take it back in the early 70s, I can remember quite clearly, the cheapest fare to London was around $900 return. The average wage was $60, so that's 15 weeks' wages to get to London and back. Up until COVID, the cheapest fares were around $1,600. Yes. That's just on 2.5 weeks' wages to get to London.
Correct.
So it really puts it in perspective how cheap it is now. It
sure does. The changes in technology that we would have seen, and I'm not going to admit how long I've been in the industry.
Not as far as I am.
But the changes in the last even 10 years have been staggering, absolutely staggering, and it's making it more and more available to more and more people. Travel is what it was all about, but we'll get back there.
We will. And just finally on airline news, I did notice that British Airways are looking to introduce a digital health certificate or digital health passport. Talk about Back to the Future. You may be too young to remember, but in the late 60s and 70s, when Kiwis travelled abroad, you had two things. One was as essential as the other. One was your passport, the other was your health certificate. The yellow health certificate, and you had your smallpox stamp, and you had your cholera. If you didn't have that, you didn't travel.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
going back a long time ago.
Didn't know that.
But before smallpox was eradicated, and it was just...
I knew yellow fever.
Yeah, it was essential as you had your passport, you had your health certificate. And you couldn't go anywhere internationally, even Australia for a while, without that. And if you went to South America, you had to give yellow fever as well.
That's true.
So it's Back to the Future. People will be, certainly once the vaccinations
and maybe... passports in the future will actually be a little different. Maybe they will have the health side of it actually incorporated.
Yep, I think so.
I think it's going to be the new normal.
Okay, that's my little update for the airline business. Terry, tell us about your business.
Well, my business started back, and I've been in the industry since school, and my own business started back in 1994.
I remember calling on you.
That's right. And we actually deal with people, average age on our tours would be 75, and we take them, depending on which tours, they might be in their 60s or they might go up through to 80s. But you know what? Age is simply a number.
Correct.
And it's how people feel, and they're well and easily able to travel and mobile. So we actually put on tours throughout the world that are fully escorted, so door to door, pick them up from the door, all the flights, breakfasts, some lunches and dinners, great accommodation, lots of little extras that we don't actually mention in the brochure, and a tour manager. So we don't just rely on the drivers, who are absolutely great, but they drive the coach and they give great commentaries, but our tour managers are with them from A to Z. So I pride myself on that. I started the business, as you would know, with my mother, who died back in 2005, and I continue to enjoy running it. And I have a great staff, Vicky, who's been in the industry many, many years, Sonia, and our tour managers, Maggie, who you know well, and
she's a great lady.
Kate.
Does she ever stop talking?
Never stops talking.
Exactly.
Never stops talking.
A wonderful lady.
But everybody loves her. She has a joke every morning on the coach, and she's great. So we run tours right through around the world, and of course at the moment it's all domestic.
Yep.
But we gave back every dollar that we took from people for the tours in our overseas season. I'm happy to say that we gave it all back. I'm old school, so if any of the suppliers were a bit funny about crediting, we made them see the light. And so it was only a couple of airfares that we had a credit that we've had since come through with. So my clients are super loyal. So domestically they keep coming back, and I love them for it.
Excellent, yeah. It's been a tough time for retail travel agents. It's been
terrible.
The travel agent, we say retail travel agents, by that I mean the travel agent in the street.
Yeah.
The person that's got the bricks and mortar office, and they've been hammered so bad. And I had a situation recently when I was talking to an agent, and she explained to me, she said, Mike, this is killing us because we get paid a commission for the first transaction, and which is not that much, I might add.
No, it isn't, not these days.
Then we have to try and get our clients' money back, all those deposits that are paid around the world, etc. And we do all that to try and get for time, etc. We don't get paid for that.
No.
And then we have to rebook the client. So all of that taken for that small amount of commission for the first transaction. And some agents have said, do you mind if we keep the commission? And the people, after they've got the refunds, people say, you're ripping us off, how dare you?
The
other people say no.
Shocking.
Yeah, other people say no. You've worked so hard for this. By all means, keep your commission. You deserve it.
But also, Mike, what I've said to clients, and not mine, but I mean, but I've said to clients who have complained to me about their travel agent perhaps keeping a fee or whatever. Yeah. I've said, well, does your doctor do something for nothing? Does your accountant? People's time needs to be paid for, and those guys have worked tirelessly to get monies back from big corporations. I feel so sorry for them. In fact, normally I don't sell tours through travel agents. People book direct. Yep. But now I'm encouraging people to book through travel agents so that at least it's something.
Good one. Hey, tell us about your trip that you particularly got to the Lower Island. Show us about.
Yeah, no, just a quick rundown on it. On the 29th of April, it's the last one of the season, and it's autumn colours in the South Island. And what's proved super popular is this one actually goes to Stewart Island. And Stewart Island, well, I say yin and yang, Stewart Island has never ever been so busy as it has during COVID.
I know.
It is super, super hard to get accommodation and or flights.
Stewart Island and the Chathams are two of the most over-touristified places in the world in relationship to the normal, what they normally get.
They would be, because we know that. And Stewart Island flights are just loving it.
Yeah.
But we fly into Dunedin. We spend 3 nights in Dunedin. We do the Royal Albatross Colony. We do Larnac Castle and a fantastic lunch and high tea. We go through the Catlins, which again is so beautiful. Scenic. Yeah. Nugget Point. But for us, which makes us probably a little bit different, we found a little teapot. It's a teapot museum, if you like. And God knows what his wife thinks, but he started off collecting teapots. Well, now they're all through the house, all through the garden, and our people love it. There's hundreds of different teapots. And then we head across to Invercargill, good old Invercargill, and we see the world's fastest Indian there, which is cool. Yep. And then we flick across to Stewart Island for 2 nights. We stay there. Our dinners are down at the South Pacific Hotel, and where we try the blue cod and sometimes the crayfish, which is cool. And we'd go out to Ulva Island, again a picnic lunch. It's beautiful. The flora and fauna are stunning. And then we come back and then go along to finish off in Queenstown, a couple of nights in Queenstown and a farewell dinner. We go out on the Earnslaw and Walter Peak with the barbecue dinner out there is stunning before we fly home. So it's proved super popular. We've always had it. We've been doing it for the last 5 years, but this year we've had such an uptake on it. We've had to put on more tours, but it's great. It's a super tour.
It's lovely. And what other areas, just briefly, do you cover around New Zealand?
Actually, East Cape is another popular one, going around the East Cape. We've got plenty of those going. And again, with the yin and yang, we've had to go to new areas, to interest people in new areas of New Zealand. We do one which we call, gosh, the names. Friday Drinks at Supreme is pretty good because we come up with some good names for tours. But we do Blenheim and Nelson. We do...
Northland too?
No, actually I don't go up north because there's 2 or 3 really good companies that go up north, and I'll sell on their tours to go up north. But we do the Rhododendron Festival, we do the Marlborough Garden Festival, which is really cool. And we do this new, and I'm actually going down at the end of this month. So quite often I will do a run before the first tour. And so I'm heading down to Christchurch and then driving to Mount Cook, and we're going to do the dark sky experience at Mount Cook, which, oh God, I'm really looking forward to that, before heading across to Queenstown. So that's a new one for us, a vista. So we're looking at putting Coromandel on. I did a wonderful, believe it or not, from Auckland, Waikato Wanderer. And we took them down for a weekend in Hamilton, and honestly, there's some fabulous places around that area. Tree Church, which is amazing, literally a church made out of trees. Only one in our area of the world. In fact, could be in the world. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's true. And Zilong Tea Factory.
It's amazing. My sister lives in Cambridge, and she's a key walker, and she just said, Michael, you've got to. I do. She's taking me some wonderful walks down there. It's just so much to great whole. Yeah, it was.
But not something I would have thought of doing until this has happened, and I'm thinking, well, where else can we go?
Cool.
So lots of places to visit in New Zealand.
Excellent. So you'll have tentatively your international tours in place for next year, for 2022.
Yeah, we are hoping. We have made a decision based on our clients and also with the vaccine and everything that we're all hoping to get soon. We won't travel overseas until early next year, and that we hope to be back. I'm not even sure next year whether we'll be back to Europe, but hopefully Asia, certainly the wonderful cooks in Fiji and Samoa.
And Niue, don't forget Niue.
Yes, and the Niue, the rock, absolutely.
Terry knows I love Niue, and I've been talking to her for ages about getting a cripple there. You're going to...
Yes.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Yep,
I'm going to hold you to that.
Well, here we are. Hopefully everybody will see that I've actually agreed to that.
Okay. Yep, so how do people get hold of you, Terry?
Easy. We've got an 0800 number, which is 0800 809 300.
809 300.
And we're right in the central city. So, and being my own company, available. Don't phone me after 1 o'clock in the morning, although that has happened. But I'm available 24 hours, basically, because my phone diverts at the weekend. But we're in the Wellesley Street, 54 Wellesley Street, in the city with the cones, which is Auckland. And just normally on 3099 822. 99822.
Great. We've got a couple of things that I want to talk about.
Oh yes.
One is this Ponant cruise ship being turned away, and it's making a little bit of news in the paper this morning. But it's actually, from what we can make out, it's use the word disaster is not too strong, but just for background, Ponant is a small luxury cruise ship company that specialises in ships that have maybe 150 to 200 people, not the huge behemoths with 8,000 people on, and they specialise in small ship coastal cruising. They've set a program together of New Zealand-based trips doing South Island, Fiordland, the Auckland Islands and the Subantarctic Islands, which they specialise in, and they've had a whole series booked. From what I can read, they've done all the right protocols. They've self-isolated the crew for 30 days on a trip down here. But seemingly, I say seemingly, suddenly the government's arbitrarily said, no, you've got 69 crew members. At least 30 of them are not essential workers. They could easily be done by Kiwis. So unless you take 30 or 40 Kiwis on board, you're not going to be able to cruise. And they're saying, no, it's not right. These people multitask. Sure, they're mass sushi, they may be in the afternoon, but they're also serving drinks, or they're doing games, or they're taking people on expeditions. They're specialists. But until you mentioned this to me, I did not realise that apparently they did advertise for 30. And how many applications did they get?
7.
7.
And out of 7, I think one of those people was actually had the qualifications to. The rest didn't. The rest didn't. But I see no. This is another nail in a coffin that for the tourism industry. But in general, not just Ponant, not just the travel agents who've actually made all the bookings, and who again, after all this, have to give all the money back and the time that takes. But what about the suppliers? Yes. What about the suppliers who were thinking, oh, there's a cruise ship coming. They would have had the welcome. Oh my goodness. Exactly. And now that's all gone. And they planned for that, Mike. They planned for it. It's so unfair and short-sighted.
And it's not just that particular cruise. Ponant have cancelled the whole series.
Yes, they have.
I think they had 6 or 7
books.
Yes,
and well supported.
Yep, lots of bookings, a lot of people desperate. It's really, really disappointing, and I think the government needs to give itself a good, swift Well, as I said, there may be.
Hey, there may be stuff that we don't know, Mike, but on the, it's certainly what it appears to be is somebody's made a terrible, terrible mistake in this. And what makes me really cross is that they've actually lost a lot of money for the country.
Exactly.
You know, it's not just, you know, the poor travel agents. We're going to be losing more jobs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like, I remember when Mr. Davis was critical of travel agents back at the start of it. There's almost categorising them as leeches, taking money off people, sending them away, and missing that whole point that, as American Airlines said, you know, they've pulled out of New Zealand. We'll only come back to New Zealand when there's two-way traffic.
Of course.
So the travel agents, yes, they're sending people overseas, but they've got to do that because no one's going to fly their people into New Zealand if they can't get people going back out again. So it's
correct.
Just
it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But we've got to finish on a positive note.
We do. Well, just before we finish, a couple of things I think are quite funny. A camper van company in the UK had a little list of things that have been left in camper vans.
Right.
And here's some: deer antlers, a wedding dress.
Oh.
Yep. 30 stolen credit cards. One was covered, and the inside was covered in lipstick and duct tape. Worked that one out.
Well, okay.
Yep.
Let's not go there.
A particular piece of, quote, intimate underwear, unquote, that you'd left behind. Could they please put it in an envelope and post it back to us?
Oh, you're kidding.
Another person rang and said, look, I've got a bit of a problem. I've rented the camper van, but I've put hidden a substantial amount of money in it. I don't know if I've lost it. I can't remember where I put it.
Wow.
And it still hasn't been found.
Really? Gosh.
But finally, I think the best of all, somebody left behind a prosthetic leg.
You'd think they'd notice that, wouldn't you?
Why am I falling down all the time? They left a prosthetic leg behind.
Oh my God.
Okay, and just before we finish, the last positive note for people, if you're a mad keen Elvis fan, just to let you know, Gracelands now have announced you can book a virtual tour of Gracelands for $100 US, and they'll take you right through as if you're there. So you Elvis fans, there's your opportunity to get to Gracelands.
Don't step on my blue suede shoes.
Exactly. Okay, Terry, before we wrap up, a couple of things. Firstly, what gives you the greatest amount of satisfaction when a tour goes successfully? The punters are all happy, everything's worked out, the weather's worked out, everything's fine. What's the best buzz for you?
It's actually the people. I think I said it before. Our clients, some of them become friends. They travel so often with us. We know them so well. And it's a real buzz when, like you say, the weather works. But even when it doesn't, we have so much fun anyway. The tours are about having fun. Not in a hidey highway, but in a really cool way. So for me, it's just knowing that everything's worked, that all the back end stuff where we've got the right hotels, we've got the right coaches. We can't, sadly we can't do anything about the weather, but we always say on a Supreme tour, the weather's always good.
Good one.
But yeah,
Actually,
so
I've got to
for
say
me,
something quickly to you.
Yeah.
You mentioned before, whatever your age is what you think.
Yeah.
Here's a little story. I just read this recently. A country singer in America, ran into Clint Eastwood at a party.
Oh.
And they're having a chat, and it turned out it was Eastwood's 88th birthday coming up next month. And he said, what do you do to keep going? And so what are you doing for your birthday? He said, I'm starting a new movie. And the guy said, wow, what keeps you going? And Eastwood said, every morning I wake up and say, don't let the old man in.
oh,
Isn't that a great line?
Wow.
So this guy went off and has written a song, and if you Google it, it's there. Don't let the old man in. It's
Don't let the
brilliant.
old man
But there's a line in that I think everyone, certainly of my age, should come up. It says, ask yourself how old you'd be if you didn't know the day you were born.
Absolutely.
Isn't that a brilliant line?
That's awesome.
And Willie Nelson heard that line and said it's one of the best lines ever written, so he's written his song.
Absolutely, and it's so true.
It
I've
is.
got people who are in their early 90s that travel with us, and honest to God, you would never ever know
I
their
love
age.
people. The guy in my golf club, he's just entered the club championships at 92.
Yeah, well, are you talking about people talking about age? Betty White, when she turned,
That's right.
was it 99? I think she was this year. They said, what are you going to do on your birthday? She said, Brad Pitt. So,
I love it.
wow, you've got to love
That's
that.
brilliant. Okay, if you could crystal ball gaze,
Yeah.
what do you think is the future? When do you see realistically everything going back to normal? I know I know the answers, but you tell me what you think.
I'll just look at my tarot cards here.
Yeah.
I think that if anybody tells you that this is going to happen in the future, that nobody knows. It's in the future. For us, what I'd like to see happen is by the end of this year some normality, and I think that'll come back for business travel.
Yep.
And maybe people who are FITs going across to... Or
FITs,
friends,
by the way, is
sorry,
individual travellers,
individual
jargon,
travellers,
yes.
going to see family and things in Australia. I think that will be back by the end of the year, all going well. And next year, I'm hoping that everything is going to be more back to normal. Vaccine is the big thing, and we all need to get vaccinated. Honestly, we do. You know, and that's, you know, obviously that's a personal opinion and everybody has theirs, but the more of us that do it, the sooner we're going to get back to some sort of normality.
Totally.
But I just hope, fingers crossed, that by 2022 we are back to, I don't reckon it'll be completely back to normal by 2022. I think that could be 2023. But it'll be getting there by 2022,
so.
I reckon.
I hope you're right.
Me too.
I've got a whole
me
stack
too.
of family living in the
Yeah,
UK and I want them
exactly.
back.
Yeah, me too.
Well, that's about it for today. Thanks very much for coming in again, Terry.
No worries.
Good
Nice to have
you on.
been here.
And we'll have you on again, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Yep. And we look forward to talking to you people again as soon as I can next week. All the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.